It was a cold Friday night in Chicago. Around 1:45 a.m., I left a friend's apartment after a small party. The streets were almost empty, and I was too tired to drive myself home. So I opened the Uber app and ordered a ride. The app showed a driver named Daniel driving a black sedan. ETA, 3 minutes. A few minutes later, the car slowly pulled up in front of the building. The license plate matched the one in the app. I opened the back door and got in. The driver didn't say hello. He didn't even turn around. At first, I thought maybe he was just tired. Night shift drivers usually are. So I said, "Hey, how's it going?" No response. The car started moving. For the first few minutes, everything seemed normal. We were driving through the quiet streets of downtown Chicago, but then I noticed something strange. The driver wasn't following the GPS route. Instead of heading toward the highway that leads to my neighborhood, he turned down a smaller road that led toward the outskirts of the city. I leaned forward slightly and said, "I think the GPS says to turn the other way." Still, no response. He just kept driving. At this point, I started feeling uncomfortable. I pulled out my phone and checked the Uber app again, but the screen showed something weird. The ride status had changed. It now said, "Trip completed." My heart started beating faster. Completed. We were still driving. I looked at the map again. The car icon was no longer moving on the app. It was like the ride had already ended. I leaned forward again and said, "Hey, the app says the trip ended. Can you stop the car?" That's when the driver finally spoke. His voice was quiet, almost like a whisper. He said, "Don't worry. You're almost there." But the way he said it made my stomach drop, because I never told him where there was. A few minutes later, the city lights disappeared behind us. We were now driving down a dark road surrounded by trees. No houses, no streetlights, just darkness. I tried opening the car door. Locked. I checked the other door. Also locked. My phone suddenly lost signal. No bars, no internet. That's when I looked up at the rearview mirror, and I noticed something that made my blood run cold. The driver's eyes. They looked completely black. No reflection. No light. Just dark. He slowly tilted the mirror so he could look directly at me, and then he smiled. Not a normal smile, a slow, unnatural one. My phone suddenly vibrated in my hand. For a moment, the signal came back. A notification from Uber popped up on my screen. It said, "Your driver has not been active on the platform since 2018. I stared at the message, confused. 2018. That didn't make sense. Before I could react, the car suddenly slowed down. We stopped in the middle of that empty road. The driver turned off the engine. For the first time, he slowly turned his head toward me. His face looked pale, almost gray, like someone who hadn't seen sunlight in years. Then he said something that still gives me chills to this day. He said, "Most passengers panicked by now, but you stayed calm." He opened the driver's door and stepped out of the car. My heart was pounding so loud I could barely hear anything else. After a few seconds, I realized something even worse. The driver's door was open, but I couldn't see him anywhere. The road was completely empty. No footsteps, no sound. Nothing. Then my phone buzzed again. Another Uber notification. This time it said, "Your driver is arriving in 2 minutes." I slowly looked up at the road ahead, and in the distance, I saw headlights approaching. Another car, another Uber. But when it got closer, I realized something terrifying. It was the same black sedan. And behind the wheel was the same driver, still smiling. If you enjoy terrifying stories like this, make sure to like the video, comment your scariest moment, and subscribe to the channel for more true horror stories every week. Because the next story might be even darker.